Hello Gemini, and welcome to your March 2023 reading. We're doing something a little bit differently this month. I am incorporating an extra deck. I know that these are collective readings and so they're general, and we can't hit every single Gemini for every single month, right? But to help direct the readings a bit more, we're going to take a look at which area of life this is talking to, which area of life your reading is speaking to this month, to help you kind of incorporate the message in a way so that it's not like, I don't know, some people sometimes feel like, well, this could apply to so many different areas, so maybe this will help with focusing it. It's just something I'm experimenting with. Let me know if this feels like it resonates with you, either in the comments down below or you can always DM me. So let's take a look at what is coming up for the progression of your month. So we're still going to look at the beginning, middle, and end of the month. So I'm feeling this for the beginning, middle, and end of the month. And let's take a look at also what is coming up as your challenge. So challenge for my Geminis and spiritual advice. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got here. Probably that bothers like literally no one else but me and some Virgo out there. So we start with the area of life being around Aquarius. Very obviously there it talks about collaborating right here on the bottom of the card. And that is one way to look at it. A lot of people think when they see Aquarius, they think community, the collective, and friendships, which it definitely has to do with that. I think one of the things about Aquarius is like kind of letting go of old constructs, like previous constructs, and listen to what is like coming forth next, right? The new innovation, the new world that's being born, the new ideas that are going to be innovative and useful for ourselves, but yes, on a collective level. It definitely feels like a more broad aspect. Typically, like in traditional astrology, it's ruled by Saturn, but it also has the co-ruler of Uranus, which it gives it an interesting flavor, right? Because with Saturn, it's kind of like, it's asking us to understand what society expects of us and to take care of that aspect of life. And it can kind of feel like a paradox because like as Uranus being the co-ruler, it's kind of like encouraging us to free ourselves, like liberate ourselves essentially from tradition. So, and other people's opinions so that we can think outside the box, right? So so this is an interesting kind of place to be, right? So definitely I feel like the area of life would be more obviously something that is both personal but also affects us on a grander scale, on a bigger scale, on a collective scale, on a community scale, right? So like honoring the unique individual that you are, but also taking a look at your contribution to like the health of your community. And that could be about your friendships, that could be about your the actual society, like communities that you're involved in. This could be the world at large. But so think that about those particular themes, but it's not just personal, it can be personal and what ripples out and affects the rest of us, right? All of us as a whole. So with that said, what we're taking a look at through the progression of the month is we have the Seven of Pentacles into the King of Pentacles, into the Knight of Wands. With the challenge, we have the Ace of Pentacles and we have the Two of Pentacles. Lots of earthy energy going on here. Lots, I think, to do with the level of patience and how fast things get to go. Also around our values. So let's start off with the beginning of the month, right? So those are just some overall themes that I'm seeing coming through, but we look at the beginning of the month, we have the Seven of Pentacles, right? So you've been doing the work, you've been putting in the time, and maybe you've been wanting things to progress faster than they've been progressing. And the Seven of Pentacles asks us to have a little bit more patience. Like you might be starting to see the seeds bear some fruit, like the flowers are maybe starting to bloom a little bit, but the fruit hasn't really come through yet, hasn't come forth yet. And so there's still more tending to the garden that needs to happen. And so therefore more time needs to pass and more patience. That makes sense with the astrology that we're in right now. I'm not really going to go into it in this particular video. I know I've been talking about that being on the horizon probably, by the end of spring or something like that. But this is what we're looking at for the beginning of the month, and I feel like that's pretty accurate, and it feels and this could also just like kind of connecting it into this theme, this could also be about your contribution, like the things that you're wanting to create and contribute to society. So, and that doesn't necessarily have to be some kind of major altruistic thing, right? It doesn't have to be like you contributing your finances to society as a whole. This could be about like you really cultivating and bringing forth your gifts, like the services that you want to offer. Maybe it has to do with coaching, or it has to do with I don't know, like some kind of skill or something that you've been learning and cultivating and really like allowing to integrate, and so that you can actually bring that forth. And it's like, it's almost the time, but it's not quite that time, right? So then we move into the middle of the month and we have the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles, one of the things I love about the King of Pentacles is that there's a level of stability and safety and security here. And there's also a knowing of the value, right? Like when we're looking at the Earth suit, we're not just talking about possible financial stuff or like the world of the tangible, like our physical space, our physical resources. We're also looking at what we value as a big part of this. And to get to this particular point, like this is someone who had to take measured steps, right? Like in order to get to this place, this particular king didn't just get there very quickly. Like we'll move into the Knight of Swords in a moment, but it's not quite the same thing. What we're looking at here is, feeling like you're starting to kind of get to this place where you're feeling a sense of, okay, I think I'm starting to get some ground. I think I'm starting to create something that feels like it could have potential stability and structure for the future, right? Either you're starting to feel that way already, or you're creating or working with something that allows, right? Creating or working with something that feels like it's going to create some kind of longer lasting stability or structure for the future, right? We're talking about building kingdoms here, right? So that is what we're looking at in the middle of the month. When we take a look at the end of the month here, we're seeing the Knight of Wands, and the Knight of Wands is definitely fast moving energy. This is very like, all right, I'm tired of waiting. I'll just burn this shit to the ground. So you need to be a little bit careful with your energy. The energy is probably going to feel like it's starting to speed up. Remember, you got to think before you act. Don't just like act first and think later. So that's something to be careful of as far as like what a potential shadow aspect of this card can be. So this is definitely speaking to like, okay, the energy is starting to move more quickly. Remember to keep your wits about you. Remember to like at least pause a little bit so you don't kind of mess up all of the what you've been working towards here. You want to make sure that you still incorporate that wisdom, but when you do go forth, and if the energy is picking up and you have been like putting into like a plan, like putting into motion like these plans and things that you've been trying to create, you want to make sure to do that, like put the force through, like go charge forth with the passion, with all the creativity, with everything you've got, right? This is fire. This is rushing in and going head on, right? This is that fiery, explosive kind of energy, which can be really beneficial, right? It can go wild and out of control, but it can also be like the exact thing that's needed to ignite a revolution, to ignite something to move forward, something to really get momentum and to gain some ground, right? So not necessarily a bad card. I'm just kind of like giving you all the different things, especially because it's a collective reading, and without it being a personal one-to-one reading, it's a little bit hard to say like exactly how I might read this depending on your specific situation. So link down below if you want to get a personal reading with me, if you want more information around like specifically what it is for you. When we look at the challenge that's coming up for this month, we're looking at the Ace of Pentacles. I think that there might be some opportunities that you need to really take a little bit more time to consider, to look at them a little bit more closely and make sure that you are moving in that direction, moving into a direction that feels like it is the right opportunity, like it is solid. For some of you, I would say that this has to do with also recognizing the opportunity. Sometimes this card, you know, especially if it shows up in a challenge position, is showing up and saying like, hey, you know, the universe is kind of like trying to come in and hand you something, to hand you an opportunity, and you're not really recognizing it. So I would say widen your perspective so that you're able to really see what that is. So that could really be coming up as a challenge. Now, I will say for maybe some few of you, this could actually have to do with, because we have so many pentacles here, this could have to do with finances feeling like they're holding you up from actually moving forward in the way that you would like to. So maybe you feel like you don't have the resources that you need available to you to really start this particular path, or to continue on this path, or to go in the direction that you're wanting to go in. And so, so those might be some of the challenges that are coming up. Your spiritual advice that's coming through is the Two of Pentacles, right? The Two of Pentacles is interesting because it's not just about weighing out choices and weighing out options, although it can sometimes be just about that. But I feel like this is learning to balance the different areas of our life, right? Learning to balance through the different, like the waves that are happening. You know, one of the reasons that the waves actually show up in this particular card on most decks is because the waves are meant to represent like how our life is not, it's not just a smooth going thing, you know, and balance is an active, it's not passive. You're not stable and still when you're balancing. There's a constant level of movement. And so there's always this kind of like pivoting. You can imagine this guy on the unicycle, and he has to continue to like pivot to keep his balance, right? And the motion of the waves, right, can kind of rock us a little bit, and we have to be able to stay on our toes while we are learning to balance the different areas of our life. So this could be about balancing your resources, you know, having to do with this particular project. I feel like this is going to make a lot of sense for somebody out there in terms of like that particular aspect, but it could also have to do with balancing the way that you are spending or your resources, you know, or what it is that you value. So you're being called to, like, your attention is being called to really pay attention to like, how can you pivot? How can you balance with the curveballs that get thrown to you in terms of like just how you stabilize things, but also how you're able to weigh out your options and decisions that you're making throughout the month of March. So I hope that really makes sense for you. Definitely check out your new moon reading, since it was, if you're watching this at the beginning of the month in March, check out your new moon reading. It was just, what, a week or so ago. And then also I will have a new reading for the full moon coming up on the 7th, so that will be out as well, so you can check that out. But yes, otherwise I will see you in the next video, whichever one that is, and I hope that this was helpful. Let me know how you like it. I'll see you next month, or yes, in one of the next moon videos. All right, bye.